Good morning, colleagues. Welcome to the Research Capacity Development Unit at the University of Johannesburg, Concepts of Mixed Methods, Research Design and Methodology Workshop. My name is Kokeso Pila and I will be your moderator for today. Firstly, I would like to notify you that this session is being recorded and I have already started the recording. And I would like to start off by thanking all our attendees for taking your time to join us today in this workshop. And most importantly, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our presenter, Dr. Abby Alao, for her efforts with preparing and giving this presentation. Before introducing Dr. Alawi to you, I would please like to go over some housekeeping rules and some important information. And so for the housekeeping rules, if you do have questions during the presentation, please raise your hand if you would like to speak up, or you can type your question into the chat box and I will indicate to the presenter to address your question. And as I've already mentioned, that this workshop is being recorded and the presentation slides will be requested from the facilitator, and both the recording and the presentation slides will be uploaded on our Moodle community and RCD MS before the end of the week. Also, a feedback survey will be sent out during the session on the chat box. Please may we request that you fill the survey out so that we can get some insights on whether this workshop was useful and how we can improve in the future. And you can also suggest some workshops that you would like for us to host in future, as well as to also provide some kind words, to our facilitators for their hard work, and this will also be used for the facilitator and LCD reporting. Also, by filling out the survey, it ensures that you receive the certificate of attendance. Just to also mention that the RCD has launched the RCDMS, which is the RCD management system. So if you have not registered as yet, please do register. You will find RCDMS on ULink and under the services tab, and there's RCD. You click on RCD and then you register. If you are having difficulties during your registrations, please send us an email on rcdinquiries@uj.ac.za. Please allow me to take this opportunity to then introduce to you our facilitator, Dr. Alao, by reading out her bio. So Dr. Abiyodan Alao obtained her Doctor of Philosophy in Information Systems at the University of Cape Town. She works as a research associate at the University of Johannesburg and had been an active researcher and teaching fellow at various South African universities. Dr. Abiyodan is passionate about research and keen to demonstrate her research capabilities in academia. She has mentored students on various ICT 4D research projects and supervised research projects that focused on management information systems, information and communication technology for development, sustainable ICT, development communication, media and communication, innovative management, health informatics, information learning, and work integrated learning. She has the capabilities to edit and review research dissertations, theses, workshop papers, academic publications, and furthermore, she has written journals, chapters, and conference papers using a multidisciplinary investigative approach. Many of her research areas focused on information technology as a pathway to achieving digital transformation in organizations and society. So as you have noted on Dr. Alao's bio, that if you need assistance with your dissertation writing or reviewing and editing, then you know the right person to approach. So without any further ado, I will then hand over to Dr. Alao. Over to you, Dr. Alao. Before I can officially hand over to you, I would like to please ask you if you would prefer to take the questions during the presentation, or you would rather save the questions for later during the Q&A session.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Keketso. I would rather take the questions after the presentation, if that's okay with the students.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So just to alert everyone that if you do have questions during the presentation, please, you can reserve them for later during the Q&A session. You can then raise them up, or you can so long put them in the chat box. And at the end of the presentation, I will then indicate the questions to Dr. Alao. Thank you. Over to you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, postgraduate students. We're happy to have you at the Research Capacity and Development Unit workshop. It's a delight to have you all at the presentation, and we hope that you enjoy the presentation as it goes on. I am Dr. Abi Alao, and I'm from the Applied Information Systems Department, and I work as a research associate. So we'll be looking at, in our presentation this morning, we'll be looking at the concept of mixed methods, research, design, and methodology. And in this presentation, we'll learn about mixed method. We're going to be learning about mixed methods, what it is, how it's done, and why it's useful. On our next slide, we have a list of what the table of contents is on the presentation. And what we'll be looking at is, I'm sorry, I'd like to know, can you all see the slides? Is it okay? I hope everyone can
Yes, we
access
can
the
see the
slides.
slides.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, we can see the slides.
Also, on our list of table of content, we'll be discussing on what is mixed research method, why we use mixed methods, the philosophy behind mixed methods, the key features of mixed methods, the common designs in mixed methods, the convergent design, the sequential designs, and how to collect data in your research, and how we can combine the data, and how you can combine the data in your write-up, research write-up. And finally, we'll look at the advantages and disadvantages of mixed methods. So let's start. What is mixed method research? Mixed method research combines numbers and stories to get a full picture of what's being studied. It's like using two lenses to see better. Most of you are in your proposal stage, and some of you are already writing your chapters. And you're probably thinking, if you're in your proposal stage, what do I need to do? Do I want to adopt a mixed method, or would I rather use a single method? If you decide to use a mixed method, it's usually ideal if you have a very large volume of data. The mixed method is the right way to go. But if your data isn't so much, I'd advise you go through the single route. But today we'll be talking about mixed method. So what is mixed method research? It's a way of doing research using both quantitative and qualitative methods. It will help you all to understand a topic more deeply. As researchers, before you start on your research write-up, you need to understand the topic you decide to want to research on. And you really must have a flair for this topic before you decide to go into it. And mixed method also, it's commonly used in multidisciplinaries, like in the social science, the education, and health, and other diverse fields. On this slide, we'll be looking at why we use mixed methods. Mixed method is usually useful because it gives both the facts and the reasons behind them. It helps us to understand the what and the why.
I'm sorry, Dr.
As researchers,
Alao,
you need to understand. Hello?
Sorry to disturb you.
Yeah.
We can see the slides on what is mixed methods research. Have you changed the slides?
Yes, I have been going.
Okay,
This is my
now
third slide. Can you see it now?
Okay. Yes, we are on the slides that is titled Why Use Mixed Methods.
Yes, that's
Okay.
where we are now.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Thank you.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
it's okay now.
Okay, so on the slides we're talking about now, we're looking at why we use mixed methods. And the reason why a mixed method is useful is because it gives both the facts and the reasons behind them. It will help you as researchers to understand the what and the why. The what and the why in your research, and why you decide to continue on the research that you're currently doing at the moment. Why do you use mixed method. It helps to combine strengths of quantitative and qualitative research. It gives a more complete understanding of the research conducted, and it will help you to answer complex research questions. So many of you have lists of research questions that you're trying to understand, and you really want to answer them. If you, as like I said, if you have a huge number of data, mixed method is the right way to go. In other words, you will combine statistical analysis and a narrative and descriptive analysis, which is the qualitative method, to be able to answer your research questions. But this will only determine on what you really want to do. So as researchers, before you, let's start with the proposal stage. Let's assume you have 100 respondents and you need to analyze them. And you really want to have in-depth understanding of what you're doing. Mixed method is a very interesting method to use. And it helps to give further clarity on what you're working on. It's quite interesting, though it might take a while to complete, but it's very interesting when you get into it. Our next slide will look at the philosophies behind mixed methods. Let's say mixed methods are based on the idea of doing whatever works best to answer a question without sticking to just one method. I'm not saying using a method can be boring. It can be interesting, but mixed method is something I'll advise most people who love research to go into, because then you have a way of playing around with your data, and you have a way of explaining your data in diverse methods and diverse ways. And that way you get an in-depth understanding of what your respondents think of the research you're conducting. And you as a researcher, you have a deep understanding of what you're doing in your study. So based on pragmatism, it is ideal to adopt research methods that works best for your study. First, when you start a research as a researcher, you need to understand in your proposal stage, what do I want to do? Is it that I'm just interested in speaking to people? Or is it that I want to do that? I like to play around with numbers. This will determine what you want to do in your ongoing research. So your flow and interest really matters before you conduct a research. Also, it's not limited to one way of thinking. And further, adapting different methods of analyzing data can be very interesting. If you have the right guide, if you are not knowledgeable about what research is all about. But if you are the type that has flair for research, you would really agree with me that mixed method is a very interesting way of conducting research. And also, using the mixed method will help you to focus on solving real research problems. Definitely, as a researcher, you have problems that you want to answer. You have problems that you are looking to and you really need answers to. So using this method will definitely help you to answer these questions. You are welcome to come to the research and development unit. There are capable hands that will help you if you're still wondering what you can do with mixed method, or you're not sure if you're interested in wanting to use it. But I'm sure when you get there, you get further clarity on what mixed method is all about and how this can help you in your research. Let's look at key features of mixed methods. It consists of triangulation. Triangulation is combining different methods, which helps researchers to compare different data. These features will show how mixed methods combine tools to improve accuracy and give you deeper understanding. Another few key features you can look at in your mixed method is the complementarity of using it. This will help in showing different parts of a research topic or area that is analyzed. So if you decide that I want to use mixed method, you will have the joy of looking at different parts of research topics or areas that you can analyze. You have a set of 4 questions that you want to analyze, and you're thinking, okay, let me dabble into this mixed method. Let me first start with the statistical aspect, which is the quantitative method. And then you come up with your data, you have gathered it on the field, and you feel, okay, Let's see what it's all about. And then after you've done that, using either SPSS, or you probably want to use any other statistical tool, you decide to go into the quantitative method. And you can use Atlas TI or probably thematic analysis. All these aspects of analyzing data are very interesting. You have capable hands that will help you to get your work properly analyzed. Another key feature to consider in development is using an approach to support the other. By combining these two methods, you are using different approaches to support the data that you have collected. It helps to justify what you're doing at the moment as researchers. And whoever who's just not into research, but who's interested in the topic you're working on, will be fascinated and really be interested in what your topic is all about. So incorporating different methods and different ideas, it can be interesting in research. And it further helps you to improve your interest on conducting research on various topics. Also, another key features we can look into is its expansion. Mixed methods helps you to broaden the research you're doing and helps you to give explicit understanding of data that you're analyzing. So these pictures will definitely show you how mixed methods combine tools to improve accuracy and give better understanding of the study you're currently conducting as researchers. Now we're going to be looking at the common designs in mixed methods. And there are different designs that suit different research goals. But most importantly, using the right one depends on what you want to learn. So it's your job as a researcher to make sure that you get the right method that you want to incorporate in your study. This will definitely start from your proposal stage. But sometimes as you're going on, you can decide to incorporate other methods. Sometimes you start with a single method, but you feel, oh my God, I'm not explaining enough. I need to go deeper, especially as PhD students. I need to go deeper in my research. So to justify what you have collected on the field, I would suggest that combining different methods and using mixed methods is the ideal way to go, especially for postgraduates in the master's and the PhD level. But as for honors, yeah, you can go into it, but single method is okay for you guys because you are just starting into research. As you grow into your master's and your PhD, it's definitely interesting and an ideal way to go to adopt mixed method in your research process. So for you to adopt this common designs and mixed method, you can look at the convergent, which is a method that allows you to collect both data at the same time. When I mean both data, I mean quantitative and qualitative methods. You are a researcher and you need to go into the field, you need to speak to respondents. You use the qualitative methods and you can go into speaking with respondents, having interviews, focus in-depth interviews, and also having observing how your respondents behave in the study that you're currently going on doing, ongoing project that you're doing. So Convergent will help you to collect the data at the same time. And by doing a quantitative aspect of collection, you can use a survey, or you can also, if it's that you decide to get your data online, you can use Google Forms to collect your data to come up with a questionnaire. And if it's that you want to distribute your data, you can always use Microsoft Word to come up with the questions that will align with the questions you want to address in your study. So, but you need to do this at the same time. So you're going to be combining your quantitative and qualitative mixed method aspect to go into the field and collect your data, to speak to respondents. And when you've gotten that, Convergent is really good. That way, you have both data of the quantitative and the qualitative to work with. Another aspect we'll be looking at the sequential design. In the sequential design, it will help you to integrate both quantitative and qualitative data collection, and also help you to analyze your data the way it should be. So these different designs will help to suit different research goals. And as I've always said, choosing the right one depends on what you want to learn, what you really want to understand about the respondents, about your study that you're currently doing. Also, this research method would involve collecting and analyzing quantitative data first, if that is what you feel. If you're good with numbers, yes, you can start with collecting and analyzing your quantitative data first, and then you can follow it by collecting and analyzing qualitative data. But if you're the type who likes, you are the narrative type who likes to write, you prefer words than numbers, then you can also start with that, vice versa. So if you're good with numbers, you start with quantitative. But if you're good with words, you start with qualitative. And this is based on exploring an in-depth result of both methods, which will help you to understand the complex phenomenon or situation you're hoping to, you're hoping to solve. The final key aspect you might have to look at is the embedded approach. It's one method inside the other. It helps you to incorporate both qualitative and quantitative method in research. So all these aspects are just letting you understand that combining both quantitative and qualitative methods are a way of you to understand the actual problem you're looking into. So if you decide to work on your data collection by starting with a quantitative aspect, it's fine. But you must be really good with your numbers. But if you decide to go with a qualitative way, because you're good at narratives, you're good with writing, you're good with people, you want to interview people, you want to observe their lifestyle, or you'd like to talk with groups in terms of focus groups, you can start with that. Either way is fine. It's just that after you've done the data collection, you will still have to bring them all together to analyze, and then analyze in different aspects using different analysis tools, such as SPSS, like I said, if you're good with numbers, or thematic analysis, or Atlas TI, if you're good with words to analyze your data. So before you can dabble into this convergent design, both data types are collected together, but you look at them as separately. Then you combine them to use the full story. So I have listed it in a simple way that you will understand. As researchers is going to the field, you collect your data at the same time using a questionnaire, or you have your interview tools to speak with your respondents. Once you've gotten your data on the field, it's time to analyze. You have to analyze them separately using different statistical tools. Once you have analyzed them separately, and then you combine the results to understand the full picture of what's going on in your study or your ongoing research. So let's further look at the sequential designs. Let us go step by step. And we'll be starting with numbers to explain, or you can also start with words to explore. It depends on your interest. So if the type who likes to explore with words, you're very good with English writing, you're very good at explaining, and you're a storyteller, it will be ideal for you to start with the qualitative aspect in your data collection. But if you're the type who likes to test your numbers, you like to go into the the lab and you like to work with numbers, then it's okay. You can start with a quantitative aspect on the field. You go with your questionnaires, if that is if you're going to go to face-to-face distribution of questionnaires. But if it's online, you can use Google Forms to create your questionnaires, which will be distributed to various social media channels to reach your respondents. It depends on what your interest is all about. These two aspects will help you to build whatever you've collected or whatever you have analyzed. And in whatever aspect you have decided to do with your data collection, is it with the narrative aspect of transcribing your interviews, or is it with the statistical aspect of working with statistical tools? This sequential design will help you to build and test the ideas of what you're working on as a researcher. So on our next slide, we'll be looking at how to collect data. We collect numbers through tools like surveys and stories or opinions through interviews. Sometimes we use both in one questionnaire. Sometimes in your questionnaire, you could give a open source aspect whereby you allow your respondents to give their ideas in their questionnaires. This is just an aspect of using the quantitative research method. You don't have to do your focus group interviews. It's a single method, it's a quantitative method, but you can also incorporate quotes. When I mean quotes, in your questionnaire, you can create an open-ended questionnaire whereby you ask your respondents to give their idea of what your study is all about. You want to hear their views. You need an in-depth understanding of what your study is all about if they really understand what you're looking for. You can incorporate that in your questionnaires and your respondents will answer and write few quotes on what they think. That's a single method of using a quantitative method. It helps you, it's quite easy, and it's very good for masters and honors students. But I wouldn't advise that for PhD students. Mixed method is the way to go as PhD student because you need to do a lot of justifications when you're presenting your study. But for honors and masters, using a quantitative method, if that is what you are interested in, it's fine. But in order to incorporate another style, you can incorporate the open-ended questions in your questionnaires, and your respondents will still give you answers to whatever questions are listed in your questionnaire. So it's a mini way of combining two different methods in one method. You are using the usual questionnaire quantitative style in your questionnaire, but at the center you have given an open-ended aspect where you're giving your respondents the chance to give a view of what they think. It's quite easier and it's very easy to understand. But I'd advise this for only masters and honors students. So how to collect your data? If you decide to use your quantitative method, you can use surveys or questionnaires, which you would later go into the lab when you're analyzing to experiment. But if you're the type who loves the qualitative aspects, you would have to look into in-depth interviews, focus groups, and observation. Thereafter, you have to combine both methods together in one tool when you have collected your data from the respondents that your targets in your study. So we're looking now at how we can combine the data together. So before you can do that, you must make sure you have sufficient data. When I mean sufficient data, your data has to be enough. And your study area, you know what you are looking at, you know what you're interested in, you know the questions you want to look at, you know your aims and objectives. But whatever it is, it has to be written in your data collection. Those aspects have to be addressed in your data collection aspect. And to help you to do that also, you must also remember that you need your framework. You need to incorporate a framework if you are combining these methods, which will help you in your data collection aspects. When I mean frameworks, I mean a theoretical aspect that will help to guide you on the field. This usually makes it easy for you to come up with possible questions that will be used in your questionnaires. So if you're in your master's, let's start with your master's, and you need to go on the field, and then you need to get certain questions on your research or your study. A framework could guide you. The concept of a framework could guide you to come up with the questions that will be listed in your questionnaire. The concept of your framework could also help you to get questions you can ask in your focus group, or that can help you to guide you in your observation of the respondents when you're on the field. So whatever aspect you decide to incorporate with the guidance of a host or coming to the research and development unit, it will really help you when you in your data collection aspect. And it will even make it easier for you. You won't have to be just playing around with questions that you're not sure you get answers. Your theory will help you get using the right theory will help you get the right questions and answers to the questions that you are listing in your questionnaires or you want to ask in your interviews. So when you've done that together, it is important to carefully combine this data so that the final result will make sense and support each other. The aim of using this method is to support whatever findings you have gotten and to justify whatever findings you have gotten on the field. So it's good to merge your analysis together using your the statistical tool you decide to use, either the statistical tool that is ideal for quantitative or the statistical tool that is used for qualitative. And then you connect them together and you incorporate them together. As I earlier said, in your quantitative aspect, you can give an open source question that will help you to get quotes from your respondents that will support your graphical illustration. That is, if you are not good at thematic analysis or you're not good at Atlas TI, but you feel I need to get in-depth answers from my respondents, you can get quotes through your questionnaires, which you can use to support the analysis that you have conducted after collecting your questionnaires from your respondents. So there are good advantages of using quotes in a quantitative data analysis. The use of quotes will help you to add depth, context, and meaning to numerical data. It also helps you to illustrate the findings, support your interpretation, and bring participants' experience to life. It will help you to have clarity, complex concepts, and add credibility by showing real-world experience. However, it's important that before you can use quotes in your research, you need to consider the ethical clearance and the ethical standards that will allow you to go to the field. And also you have to consider the confidentiality of the respondents you have spoken to. Some respondents will rather want to be anonymous, so you might decide to come up with coding their responses. If you need further understanding of what I mean by coding, you can come to the research and consultancy unit and you get further assistance with that. So finally, let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of what mixed methods brings to the table and how it can help you young researchers to conduct your research. Mixed methods will give you better results. They'll also require more effort and knowledge to do it properly. But if you get assistance and you do it properly, the strengths are to help you to give you rich and detailed results. It also provides more accurate data analysis if you decide to use this method. Also, it's very flexible to use, and it helps to generate a more detailed, analyzed data. Also, it's got its weakness, but it's not as much as the strength you derive from it. The weakness is that it takes more time. But with proper guidance, don't worry about the time. You get your work done. But it also needs more skills. And it can be harder to analyze if you don't understand what you're doing. But if you get the right guide, so in conclusion of what we've been talking about, we can say mixed method would help you as researchers to understand both the facts and stories of research that you are conducting. This method is a powerful way to study complex issues, and it makes better decisions based on both data and experiences. Also, this approach is useful in many fields and many interdisciplinary fields, such as mentioned, social sciences. The management also use it, the health fields use it. So it's really ideal for diverse units and diverse fields and interdisciplinary studies and research. And finally, it helps to solve real world problems. So whatever aspect or problem you have identified in your research that you think needs to be solved, mixed method research methodology will definitely help you to solve it. Thank you for having me. And would you all have any questions that you want to ask or anything that you feel can help you to further understand what you're doing in your study? I'm hoping to respond to them. Thank you. Also, you can leave your questions in the chat box if you don't want to talk, but if you want to talk, it's fine. I'll give you a response.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alao, for that detailed presentation and giving us like a breakdown of the mixed methods research design and methodology. I think we all just learned a lot from you providing us with a detailed description of what is mixed methods and why, should we use the mixed method, the reasons for using mixed methods, and the philosophies behind the concept of mixed method, also the key features of mixed methods. I think those will help us in conceptualizing our studies and see how we can go about conducting our studies. So thank you for that very detailed presentation. And
Thank you, Dr.
I would now open the questions to the participants, and just 2 seconds while I allow everyone's mic so that you can just unmute yourself and speak, or if you prefer to type your question in the chat box, it is still okay. You can do that, and I will indicate to Dr. Alao to address your question. Just a few minutes to allow everyone's mics. So, thank you. So if you want to ask a question, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question. This is a great opportunity for us to engage with Dr. Alao, discuss as much as we can so that we know that we have taken or all the questions that we had have been addressed in this session. Yes, we do have a question on the chat, Dr. Alao, from Laurent. And the question says, how can the mixed methods be used concisely in the jewelry design and manufacturing?
Okay. If you decide to use a mixed method in your current research in jewelry design, you can incorporate it based on the questions you are hoping to get responses for. Definitely in your research, you have questions that you want to address and you have objectives that you're looking at. So that can only determine if mixed method is the ideal way to go. I don't know the questions you want to ask, but you first have to look at your questions and then your aim, and this will determine which method is ideal to use. And I don't know what level of study you are at. Are you an honors, master's, or PhD, postgraduate student? This also determines on using mixed method. If you're in your honors, you don't, if it's that, I'm sure you don't, mixed method is not, most of you might use it, but it will take your time because you have limited time in your study as an honors student. But as a master's student, definitely you have enough time, and a PhD student, you have enough time to play around with your data. So as a jewelry design researcher, before you can incorporate mixed method research, your questions will determine if it's ideal or not. It's not about asking a big question, but the questions you want to address will determine if this is the right way for you to go. Sometimes it might not be the right way. It might just be that you might just need to use a qualitative research method, which is going for in-depth interviews or observing how jewelry is being made, or probably you need to speak to a group of jewelry manufacturer or employees, and you want to understand what they do there. So then you don't need mixed method for that. You just need a quantitative aspect. And the methods you incorporate is the observing how it's been done. You look at the focus group and you gather a group of people to speak to and ask them your questions that you have listed in your research. Or you can even have a one-on-one face-to-face interview with them to understand how jewelry is made, what the resources that the manufacturing organization is using to come up with these jewelries. So you see, it's dicey. Your questions will determine. But from my understanding, I don't think it's going to be an ideal method for you to use. I think the qualitative aspect will be ideal for you. So your data collection should be on interviews, focus groups, and observation. I hope that answers the question. Any other question?
Thank you for that. So Laurent also mentioned that he or she is a master student.
Okay.
So I hope you are answered, Laurent. And okay, what I'm also getting from your response, Dr. Alau, is that you firstly need to conceptualize your study first and have
Yes.
your research questions and your research aims and objectives, and
Yes.
then from that you can decide on which methods
Method
is
to
suitable
use.
to
Yes.
address those questions.
Yes.
Okay, no, that is very clear. Very clear. I hope you also answered, Laurent. And also, David, I'm so sorry. For some reason I could not see your comment. It was the first one. We also have a comment from David. I don't know if he is answered already with the response that you gave. However, the question says, how would mixed methods align with design science research?
What aspect of design science are you doing, and what are you in your study? Are you a master's or PhD or honors? Your level of study determines the method you will incorporate in your study. So are you a master's or honors? Please put that when you're asking your questions, which will help me to understand your questions more.
Masters. He says masters.
Okay. Okay, as design study, like I said, like I responded to the first question. What stage, let me first ask you, what stage are you at? Are you in your proposal stage, or have you started your write-up?
But I'm on another call. I tried to speak to both. I'm going to try and mute my other call. Please repeat the question. Which level am I at?
Yes, what level are you at so I can understand
So
the question properly?
So I've done literature review, and I've done my first chapter. So now I'm at the chapter where I'm supposed to select a methodology that I'm going to use for my research. So I was looking at the different methods, the overall method, and I decided I'm going to use design science. Now, when I saw the mixed method, I was asking myself, where would it fit in in the design science methodology that I'm going to use? Whether it's going to be whether it's going to be at the data collection level, or whether it's just the complement, a complement, or whether if I'm using DSR, I should not even look at mixed method because it's inherently included.
So I need to understand are you at the data collection stage at the moment?
Not yet. I'm still
but
deciding on the method, so that's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have passed the proposal stage at the moment?
Yes, ma'am.
You've started your write-up?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're not sure of what method to use?
I'm not sure what method to use.
What will guide you with? Have you incorporated any theoretical framework in your study that will guide you on the field? This makes it easier. As a master's student, if you have a theoretical method, a theoretical framework that will help you to address your questions, then you to determine which of these methods I should incorporate. Do you have a theoretical framework in mind?
No, not yet, no.
So I think you might need to look into that. First, since you are you're not sure of the method to use, first find out the theoretical framework. What department are you at?
I'm in Department of Science, Academy of Software Engineering.
Of software engineering, okay. So you need to first adopt the theoretical framework. When you get a theoretical framework, this framework will align with your questions and your questions that you want to address and your objectives. When you align them, it will help you to come up with a quantitative, do you understand, question that you want to take to the field. It will guide you. And because you're a master's student, a mixed method is actually ideal for you. But you have to start first with your quantitative aspect using the theoretical framework, which will help you to ask the right questions in your questionnaire. So in your data collection process, are you doing face-to-face or do you want to do an online data collection? Is it primary or secondary data you want to collect? Which one?
It's going to be primary because I'm working on something
primary,
new.
so which will be face-to-face. So
Yes,
you are going to come
face-to-face.
up with a questionnaire using your framework that will guide you to write the questions. This framework will align with your questions, your research questions, and your objectives. And it will help you to come up with possible questions you should write in your questionnaire. So I want to know, are you good with words or are you good with numbers?
Combination. I'm actually good with both.
You are good with the both. So you don't mind doing focus group interviews? You don't mind doing in-depth interviews, face-to-face interviews with people?
Yes, ma'am, I don't.
And you don't mind observing what is going on the
Yeah, I doubt I'm going to do observations because what I'm working on is although it's not new, but there's not a lot of people that are using it. So I doubt there is going to be an opportunity for observation, but definitely face-to-face interviews are going to be key for me.
Okay, then it's fine. Also, so yeah, mixed method is the right method for you to go.
Also, since to your point,
okay, I'm listening.
To your point, I am struggling with the type of questions in my questionnaire, but yeah.
Then you might need to visit the writing and research consultation unit. A lot of people here would help you out. Okay. I know a lot of people most students don't know how to come up with the right questions, but I'm telling you, you already have the questions you want to address. You already have the objective. It's not difficult. These questions aligned with your theoretical framework will help you to come up with the questions you to write in your questionnaires that you will take to the field to ask your respondents. Do you understand? So if you are going to be using a mixed method research method, you need to come up with a framework that will align with the study. That question you want to ask, a lot of question frameworks that you can adopt. Once you get the right framework, then the questions are not difficult because every framework has its concept. You just have to ask the questions that and the questions that will align with the concept that are involved in that framework. And then in your questionnaire that you have written, because sometimes you've got questions in your research questions, but because you didn't have a framework in the beginning, you have not written any question in that angle. So you might have to go back to your question and include a question that will address your framework. Do you understand? So if you have 3 questions that you want to address, because you have a framework, you come up with the first one that will help you, because you need the concept of this framework that will help you come up with possible questions, the right questions that you will take to the field and give you the answers that you need from your respondents. Do you understand? Am I making sense?
Yes, you are.
So you are welcome. We're waiting for you here. Definitely you get your help. Your study sounds like an interesting one. Well, if you can just get the right method to use, everything will be fine. And before you can do that, you need to use a framework. So start looking for the framework that will work with your study. Speak with your host, and whatever you come up, your host will guide you. If you feel you need further guidance, you can always come to the writing and consultant unit and you get further guidance. And you get guidance on how to come up with the right questions to ask. And then these questions will help you to get the response or solution to the problems you have in the study you're currently doing.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking up the offer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that, David. And we have some follow-up responses, like Dr. Alawo. We have some follow-up responses from Laurent, and he or she is trying to give like a context to the study so you may understand better. So I'm going to read out the comments in the chat. So the comment says, I'm a master student and I'm writing my research on the use of unconventional materials in jewelry training programs in South Africa, case of marginalized communities. And my research questions are, number 1, what are the potential benefits and challenges of using unconventional materials in jewelry making? I think he's still typing something else, but so long, you can maybe respond to that.
Okay. So I'd like to know, are you in your proposal stage? Have you started your write-up? This is very important. If you had gotten your proposal right, then writing your write-up would not be a problem. Although sometimes you start with your proposal, and as time goes on, you want to incorporate neat method. It's right. It's okay. So I want to know, are you in your writing stage, dissertation writing stage, chapter stage, or is it the proposal you're still working with? What are you doing at the moment? Is it typing?
Laurent, yes, is still typing. It would have been nice to hear the voice.
His voice, yes,
You
yes, like
explain.
better clarity.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, it's Lawrence.
Okay,
Okay,
Lawrence.
so yes, I'm actually busy now writing my dissertation. So yeah,
Okay.
that's fair.
Okay. So
Yes.
what stage are you at?
I think I'm still busy with my dissertation. So this is this is actually my first year as a master's student,
Yes.
so which has to go for 2 years. So this is my
Okay.
like first 6th month, I think, that I'm going. Yeah. So Yeah. So it's still like in a very like an early stage of
Early
the
stage. So you're
yeah.
still having your introductions, your chapter introduction. You haven't gotten to your research methodology yet.
I'm busy with my methodology. That's why I'm so interested in this topic right now.
Have you
Yeah.
wait? Have you written your introduction and your literature review? Have you done that?
Yes, that is done.
So you have sufficient literature written down.
Yes, yes.
Your literature should guide you. Your literature, the literature you have gathered.
Mm.
And first, yeah, I'm listening.
According to what I've read, it's all directing me to the mixed method. That's why I got a bit confused when you said I should maybe go for a qualitative. But according to what I've read so far, it's all directing me into like a mixed method.
You know, I don't know the questions you want to address, and I don't know
Okay.
your objectives. You understand? I only said that because you said jewelry making, and I know speaking to people will be interesting.
No, no,
Do you
no.
understand?
My objective is to actually develop a manual whereby I have to integrate people who are not generally into the jewelry industry. So I just want to bring everybody who's not part of the jewelry sector, just to it's actually a basic training where I'm targeting the marginalized community. So I need to bring them into the sector so that they can start from somewhere and build up.
Okay, so they're like, are they trainees or something? You want to train them, or the jewelry company is going to train them?
I want to actually create something like a training program where we can like spread it across the township and see how we can train people who are not generally into the industry, and then
So
start
you
from
want to, okay, so you are interested in their views. You want to see, have you done your survey to find, okay, survey 2 is okay, mixed method is right. But because since you mentioned you're working in the rural communities, isn't it?
That's right.
So yes, mixed method is the right way. You're not speaking. It's better to hear you than when you ask questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry
Yeah.
about
When
that.
you speak,
Yeah.
I can understand more than just asking me a big question because I don't know what you're working at. But now you've given me an understanding of what you're doing.
All right. Sorry
Okay.
about
So
that.
now you want to train people. You want to develop people. Do you understand?
Yes.
On jewelry making. So you're bringing in a skills development project.
That's right.
That's what you're doing.
That's right.
Yes, a mixed method is the right thing to go. So you before you can do that now, you also need a framework.
Exactly.
You also need a framework to ask the right questions.
Yes.
So I don't know the questions you have listed in your research at the moment, but you need a framework, and your framework must be listed among the questions that you need to answer. This framework will help you to ask, to understand if this, who are you working with? Are you working with youths? Are you working with, who are the people, are the marginalized groups? Who are the people you're working with?
Who are the people? Yes. I still have to answer those questions. Yes.
So you need to find out who are your target audience. Are they youths? Are they women? Are they men?
Yes.
You understand? What age group are they at? So you need to get the ideal target audience. So when you get your target audience, then you pick your theory, your framework that you need to get the right framework. Most people don't know how to get the framework, but once you get the right framework, then you can align it with your questions and objectives and come up with the questionnaire that will ask these respondents the questions that will solve your problems. Do you understand? And then to get an in-depth understanding of your study so far, you need to come up with interviews, speak to people. If you don't want to have them face to face, you can speak to them in groups. Focus group. You understand? You need to understand, are they interested in your training? Do they want to develop themselves? Are they interested in self-development? Do you understand? If they are, you would know. From this deep, in-depth understanding, it will help you to understand, okay, am I going to get good responses for my study? If not, you will know. So in other words, when you get the responses through your questionnaires, then you can, are you good with numbers? The statistical tool, are you good with that?
A little bit.
So a little
Yeah.
bit. So
Yes.
if
Mm.
okay, if you're not, most people are not good at numbers, but Excel is very easy to come up with
Okay. Okay.
graphical illustrations. Do you
Okay.
understand?
Yes.
And then if you decide to go with the focus group aspect, then you go into the community and speak to first address those at the target audience. So when you, if it's that you want to work with youths to gather them together and you ask the questions that are on your questionnaires, their responses will also support the statistical analysis that you've done. You see, it's a mixed method now.
Okay.
But you are doing it at the same time. You are distributing questionnaires. At the same time, you are talking to people.
To people,
in
yes.
groups, yes.
Okay.
And you're getting their views. You're seeing if they're interested. You want to know, are they employed or are they unemployed?
Yes.
Will this help to eradicate the unemployment in the community? Do you understand? Or
Yeah.
will this contribute to the employability that is going on there? Is it a poverty impoverished community? After this training, will this help them to improve their livelihood? So I'm guessing you might need to use this. It's sustainable livelihood theory. Do you understand? Whoever the target uses, go and look into that. Look at the sustainable livelihood theory and see how you can look at the concept, incorporate the concept into that your study. Do you understand? So those questions will help you to ask the right questions in your questionnaires. Once your questions are right, everything is easy.
Okay.
You don't have a problem anymore. Yeah, so you are going through the right route. Mixed method is the right. When it comes to community work, mixed method is the right method to use.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alao, for engaging Laurent in that discussion. And even though you're engaging Laurent, everyone else, we're able to now think about our study and take something from that.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And even David says, thank you very much for the session. It is very informative. So just to Dr. Alao, to get some the clarity on this, you spoke about I'm trying to find now. You spoke about the embedded. I didn't quite get that explanation. Maybe I might have missed something that you have already explained. So when I have a questionnaire and then I have like open-ended questions at the end, is it now the embedded approach?
Okay, what slide is that? Slide number. Okay, the embedded approach. It's like incorporating two methods.
Yes.
It is an embedded, yes, it is a method of incorporating two methods together. Like I said, what are you also a student, Koketo?
Yes, I'm also a student, yes.
So
I'm
what
doing my
aspect?
PhD. This is my second year.
Oh my God. Okay, it's good to learn. I love to work with PhD students. Okay, okay. So Koketo, have you started your write-up?
Yes, I have started. No, I've passed the proposal stage. I'm now doing my literature review, actually. Yeah.
Oh, so you're at the right stage. Okay, so do you have sufficient literature have you gathered enough literature at the moment?
I don't think I've gathered enough. I'm still engaging with literature.
Okay, so your literature needs to be sufficient. And then your next aspect, which is your theoretical framework. You also need a framework. I'm sure you know that to justify your work.
Yes.
So I don't know what your questions are. I don't know what your objectives is. But the framework will guide you, like I told Lawrence. Do you understand? So before you go into your method, it's a good thing you're at the literature stage. Now, your next aspect to be your framework. The right framework. If I knew the questions you want to ask, I could look into the right framework that will be ideal for you. Framework makes it easy for data collection processes, especially in mixed method. Once you have your literature and you have sufficient literature and you have the right framework, even though you have written your questionnaires, if there's a question that still needs to be addressed, you can go back and include it in your research question. because now you know you've gotten the right tool to use. Do you understand? So if you have 4 questions as a PhD student, and then you realize that I've gotten the right framework, you need to come up with the questions from that framework that you take back to your question and include it there. So it will make it like, let's say you have 4 questions, you have 5 questions. But the fact that you got it right, are you using questionnaire? Are you sure? You're not sure the method to use yet, isn't it? No?
I'm actually using the pre-test and post-test and interviews as well.
Okay, which is good. So are you good at numbers? Your interest matters. Are you good at numbers? Are you good at words? What are you? Since you're doing interviews, you must be good at words, narratives, and descriptive analysis.
Yes, I am good with words, and numbers I'm not so perfect, but I'm trying.
You're not so perfect. Okay, that's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. It's fine. If you're not good at numbers, you can play around with your thematic analysis and your Atlas TI. Either of the two will be good to analyze your interviews. So you're having interviews? Are you using, what methods have you decided to incorporate? Will you be having interviews with your respondents? Will you be having focus group interviews or face-to-face interviews? Or I don't know what your research topic is all about. So, but the fact that you're good with words, yeah?
Yes, I will be using interviews, specifically focus group interviews.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, those are face-to-face. It's going to be face-to-face focus group interviews. And yeah, so I think that will help me also. But I need to, because my study is based on testing. I'm testing something before and after. So the pre-test and the post-test are very important. And then during the interviews, I will ask them to further explain what the test or the results that I got from the quantitative data. Yes.
If it's got to do with testing, yeah, or you're trying to experiment something, yes, you definitely use a quantitative method. But first, before you can dabble into that, look into your framework, okay? Look into the right framework. I wish I knew what the topic is all about or what question you want to ask. Then I can come up with a framework for you. So this framework will help you to come up with the questions you need to ask. Like I've been saying, when you come up with a framework, this framework will guide you in your data collection. Then you can incorporate your objective and questions into that questionnaire. And whatever respondents, answers your respondents give will help you to analyze using a statistical tool. For those of you who are not good at SPSS or any statistical tool, Excel is very easy to come up with a graphical illustration. It's very easy for people who are not good at numbers. But if you are good at SPSS, that even makes it easier. You just need to put your questionnaire there and it will help you to come up with a graphical illustration. But the likes of Keketo, it's fine. Even if you're not good at statistical tool, don't worry, you can get training in that. That is not an aspect that you'd be scared of. I'm happy that you're good with words because most students are not good with words. Most of them are good with numbers. But when you come up with a student that's good with writing, that's unique because your thesis requires you to write and just do a lot of justification. Numbers is just a little aspect. Your dissertation writing, a very small aspect that, but writing of words is a huge aspect because someone else who is not your host will read that work and needs to understand. Do you understand? So yes, mixed method is ideal for you because you want to experiment, you want to find out, you're inquisitive, you need to go into the field. Your respondents, I don't know who they are. Who are your respondents? What is your location, your study location? All these things need to be addressed. Do you understand? And then if you find out who your target audience is, and you find out what the framework is all about, you get the framework and you align it with your questionnaires to find out the questions you want to find out. And because you've gotten the right framework, you come up with the questions that talks with your questions with your research. Maybe your framework has an aspect that aligns with your study, you go put the questions at the last question they're stating that using this framework, how can this help respondents? You understand? And then that will address every other aspect in your question here, because you have stated that you are using a framework in your question. Because if you are using a questionnaire, you need to state in your question that a framework has been used. So a question relating to that has to go back to the questions you are asking. And if you get the right framework, you get the right questions that will be listed on your questionnaire. And once you've gotten the respondents that you want to work with, you take it to the field, you do your data collection. What it even makes it more easy. Work is now easy because you have gotten the right questions, you have gotten the respondents, they've given you the responses. Then you go, the next stage will be how will I analyze this thing? But that is not a problem. The most important thing is getting the questions right. The questionnaire is, what are these right questions am I asking? Are these questions that I've asked in my questions, have they been addressed in my questionnaire? It's very important. And your literature tool will help you to ask the questions in your questionnaire. Your literature tool will help you to ask the questions you need to ask in your interview. That's why I said, do you have sufficient literature? Do you understand?
Yes, we do. We do understand. Thank you for that detailed explanation. So with when you're developing your own questions, so most of the time it's easier to just adopt the questionnaires that were already created by other researchers. So when you are actually doing your own or starting your own questionnaire from the beginning, what are some of the steps that you can do besides before you can even test it with the participant, before you can pilot it? What are some of the steps that you need to take to validify or to make sure that the tool is sufficient or valid to use?
That's a very good question. That's why I first asked you, is it a prime? I asked one of the respondents, one of the students, is it a primary data or is it a secondary data? And I know I do understand from my experience that some students use existing questionnaires from an ongoing project. So they don't really work on questionnaires by themselves. But if it's that, because you're a PhD student, you are trained to be an independent researcher. So you have to come up with questionnaires by yourself. You can't use existing questions. What is a PhD? A PhD is conducting study that has never been conducted. You need to answer questions that has never been answered. So you are on your own. Don't worry, you're not on your own. You have people to help you. But what I mean on your own, you are trained to be an independent researcher. Someone who will look at the question and come up with the right questions to answer this, to solve a problem that is going on in the society. Do you understand? So the first stage you need to do, like I've been saying, your questions are asking the right questions are most important. Your objectives will guide you. The questions you need to ask on your objective, all these questions you have listed in your objective, ask them in your questionnaire. The objectives you have listed, ask them in your questionnaire. The questions you need to answer, you need responses to. List them as questions in your questionnaire. Do you understand? The framework you have decided to use, look at the concept and ask questions that this framework is pointing at. List them in your questionnaires. Do you understand? And if you are the type that you only want to use questions, so PhDs don't even go into mixed methods. Some of them, they incorporate their the method by using a quantitative questionnaire survey, and then they do the open source questions, giving respondents the answer to write. They ask them questions and giving them a chance to write whatever questions or responses to whatever questions you've asked. It's a form of mixed method too, but just that you're not incorporating incorporating qualitative method, but in a way you are triangulating. You are using questions, and also you are giving an aspect of the quote. If you look at the slide, I mentioned quote. An open source is a quote. It helps you to quote your respondents, saying that this is what they say. And before you can do that, you also need to ask the respondents, Do they want to be anonymous, or do they want their names to be mentioned? If they don't want their names to be mentioned, you have to give them a code. Maybe you can say responded 1, and then you put it in code. After you've given your graphical illustration, you can give an aspect of that open source and paste the name, the responses of the respondents to support what you have said, what you have presented in your analysis. You understand? It's a form of triangulation. In most cases, sometimes, what is triangulation? Incorporating different methods. Incorporating the code into your qualitative aspect. It's also a form of mixed method, but just that it's not a very wide aspect to use. And then the right statistical tool depends on your strength. That's why I said, are you good with words? Are you good with numbers? If you are good with words, thematic analysis is always good for your questionnaires. Cluster is always good for analyzing interviews, focus groups. Those are the right tools to use for words. If you are doing a face-to-face interview, or you're doing a focus group, or you're observing, thematic analysis is the way to go. But if it's that you like to play with numbers, you want to write, you want to analyze with your SPSS, you would like to use your Excel or whatever statistical tool you feel will help you out. It all depends on the strength. I don't know what your strength is, but you just told me that words is your strength. So work on your strength. And then when it gets to the pilot stage, if it's that okay, I'm not really good, okay, so you take your questionnaires through the process I said, ask questions that align with your questions, ask questions that align with your objective, ask questions that align with the concept of your theory. And then you come up with a questionnaire that you take to the field to test the field. Do you understand? That's how your questions come about. It's not difficult to come up with a questionnaire. It's not difficult to come up with the questions. The questions you want to ask is already written in your questionnaire and in your questions. The objectives you aim to address, it's already written. So ask questions relating to these things in your questionnaire. And then you look at your framework. This framework has 5 concepts. Ask questions relating to each of the concepts that are listed in that framework and list them in your questionnaire that you're taking to the field for your pilot study. Do you understand? And then that way you can get responses. Your responses will come out because you have asked the questions you want to address. You've looked at the objective, you've listed them in the questionnaire. You have also looked at a framework that works with your study, and you've listed it there, and you've come up with a questionnaire. And in your questionnaire, if you decide to say you want to use the code, open source, incorporate it in the question to ask them questions that you're pondering about. I need to understand. Ask if you are let's assume you want to know in a poor community, would you like skills development to be addressed to youths in this community? If that's what you really want to understand, ask it as an open source question, and your respondents will respond to say, yes, this community is poor. We need skills development because we have a very high number of unemployment in this community. So now you are triangulating, you have a questionnaire, you have open source, you also want to do interviews. You combine the 3 together, you have a lot of work to do, but you definitely come up with beautiful results. Hello? I hope you understand what I've just said.
That is very clear. Thank you very much, Dr. Alao. You have really engaged us in our studies today, and we really appreciate that. So, can we maybe schedule like a consultation with you, or maybe just a talk with you outside of the workshop? Maybe.
It's okay. It's fine. You just have to book an appointment.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions from the participants?
You can ask me anything that is pondering you. You know, research is a very beautiful thing if you have the interest. I know most students find it difficult to have the interest, and it's only because the guidance needs to be right. If you get the right guidance, you start building the flow and the interest. It's not as difficult as most people think research is. It's very easy to understand, but you just need the right guidance. If you're on the right path, you will love it. If there's anything after PhD, you will come back and say, I want to do more, because you have developed the interest in research. So if you're not interested in research, don't worry. If you can just open your heart to say, I need to understand a certain questions. I'm somebody who likes to develop people. I'm somebody who likes to solve problems in the society. Research is the right thing for you. You just get the right questions, the objectives you feel that is pondering you, and then you write them down, and then get your right target audience. Who are they? Who are the people I'm targeting? Because you need to niche your study. You can't make it too wide. When it's too wide, you'll be confused on how to answer questions. So narrow it down to who are the people I want to work with? Okay, which community? What number am I looking at? As a quantitative study, I can't go less than 100 respondents. I need to go higher. As a qualitative, I need like 80 or 50 respondents that will answer my questions. If it's a group focus group, maybe I need 6 people in a group, and I need a group of 3 or 4. These questions need to be addressed. Once you get them right, you just go into the field. You're happy because you know you got guidance. It's very difficult. Research becomes very difficult when there's no guidance. It's like you're just playing around the ropes. You're playing around. You don't know what to do. You go around in circles. But if you are channeled right, it's very interesting to get involved in. So you're welcome to the writing and consultant unit. Your issues will be addressed, and your worries would also be addressed adequately.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Dr. Alau. There are no more questions on the chat, and I do not see any hands that is up. So I would like to just take this opportunity to thank you, Dr. Alau, for engaging us with such a meaningful presentation. We have literally taken a lot from this presentation, and we now have a better understanding of the mixed method research design and the motivation behind it. And it has also answered some of the questions that we've been having, and also it's going to give us an opportunity to go back to our studies to think more about our choices of the research design. Thank you so much for engaging us in that. That was very beautiful and detailed and valuable presentation. Thanks.
You're welcome.
And
thank you all for having me.
Thank you. And to our participants as well, thank you for taking your time to join us today. As I always say that these workshops will not be meaningful if you do not attend and engage with us. So you are the ones that are making these workshops to be successful. So thank you so much for taking your time and engaging us with us in these workshops. And we really hope that you are actually getting something, you are learning, and you are constantly improving in your postgraduate studies, and that's what we want to hear from you. So thank you so much, and we hope to see you again in our upcoming workshops. Just a reminder that there's a feedback survey on the chat. Please, before you leave the session, take your time to complete the survey for us. Please, and without any further questions and comments, I will then close the session and thank everyone. Have a good and wonderful day further.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.